Good evening, guys. Welcome to Sniper Sundays. I hope you're all well and had a great weekend. I hope you had a good Mother's Day for those celebrating it. Given the circumstances, obviously, things aren't great at the moment wherever you are in the world. We all know the sort of situation with the coronavirus. Those of us in the UK have seen things getting a little bit worse over the weekend, but no new changes as to where we're at with a lockdown as of yet. But we're looking at the news, looking at the media, we can actually see that things are progressively getting worse elsewhere in the world at the moment. Italy is very, very bad. But notably, looking today, as I said last week, things hadn't progressed and got worse in the US as of yet. Well, it had got bad, but it was there was a sort of only they were a few weeks behind the UK, I believe, and we can see now that the UK is getting quite bad. We're up to we're leveling at how bad Italy was when they first received the coronavirus, and also America is progressively getting worse as well. So I think New York has actually been declared as a danger zone at the moment. So yeah, the US is getting worse. There has been some news coming out today. There's been news just a little while ago from the Fed, not news from the Fed, but a chief from the Fed just saying that he expects that the US jobless rate could soar to 30% over the next few months, with a 50% drop in gross domestic product. So everyone's obviously expecting a massive drop in everything in each economy. So obviously America's going to get worse. But obviously all other currencies or other countries are also getting worse at the same time. But obviously, like I mentioned, the news hasn't really come out from America just yet. But it's starting to feed from there a bit more, and we're seeing how bad it is, and it's rapidly getting very, very bad in America at the moment. So looking at that could have an effect on the US dollar. We have to see how the market reacts to that this week. With the US dollar, it's obviously we've seen a drive and a push into the US dollar over the previous few weeks as people seek a safe haven in the US dollar. So we'll have to see how the market reacts to this on market open. Once again, we'll have to see if there's going to be any big gaps, as there has been, not really so much last week, but there was big moves on the start of the week last week. As soon as the market opened, Euro USD moved 100 pips. But the dollar index, we'll see what happens with the dollar index. I'm going to have a look and see, is there going to be any nasty surprises? Hopefully not. Now, taking time out and looking at the charts, looking through them on the weekly and the weekly charts and so on. This week does look a lot. So I'm just seeing just as we speak, I'm just seeing a notification come up. Royal Bank of New Zealand announces quantitative easing. So this is big news for New Zealand dollar. So we'll have to see how we'll look into this in a little bit. We have to see how the New Zealand dollar is going to react to that on market open. Again, news coming out just shortly before the market actually opens. But as I was just saying, that the analysis wise, things do look good for this week. Obviously, it's been a bit of a crazy sort of few weeks. Weeks have seen some wild moves. But being patient and just waiting to see some more sort of candlesticks, a bit more development. Price is starting to line up now, and we can start to see some signs, which I'm going to explain shortly. But I'm quite looking forward to this week and see quite a few setups that we can take. So, going to go into this now. I'm going to start looking at this one by one. So, US dollar here. We can see the US dollar had a big push down a couple of weeks ago. This is the last 2 weeks, a big push up, but you can see previous to that, we had this sort of double top here as it came up to make a higher, trying to make a higher high, came up here, rejected its previous higher high, and then we had that double top and push down. Now, a lot of people, especially retail traders that wait for a break of a trend line, would have taken shorts here. And this is where the market moves against the 95% of people. So this is why we look at taking trades at tops and bottoms. Obviously, lots more pips, much more reward once you take a trade. But here we can see here, if you wait for instance, on a weekly chart, We wait for a break of the weekly trend line here to take a trade. You can see how you would have got caught out. But this is what I mean. Forget about the news for the moment. Just look at the technicals. We see that this happens time and time and time again. So you have to have confidence in the technicals. Even though at the moment the fundamentals are overruling on a lot of pairs. But you have to have, as I said, in a couple of weeks, couple of months, you'll look back and say, I remember when that happened. But then you'll see that it has actually just played out as per the technical analysis. So for instance, what we could see here, if we see this fake out to the downside, we could easily see something similar happening to the upside on the US dollar. Big push up at the moment. You can see here the top of this sort of range, also this range here, sorry. Similar range lines up with this resistance here, this previous resistance. So we're breaking out at the moment with the dollar index. You can see here we're breaking out this rise and wedge formation, and we could continue to push up higher, as I've explained last week, to push up and tap this resistance. So I do think that with the US dollar, I think we could see some weakness coming in, as I've said previously and last week. But I think I can see us coming up and tapping this level and more than likely taking this level out first before we see that move down. So you can see an increase in the US dollar and then a push down. But we have to see how the market opens, as always, as explained. So at the moment, this does look like a very nice area for this to come up and tap into before it finds resistance. We have to remember as well that we've obviously seen a big bullish run here on these 2 weeks, 1, 2, covering a lot of ground, and we haven't really had too much of a pullback or a resistance or a retracement, I should say. So I expect this to continue pushing up higher, and then we can start to look at this, the US dollar pushing back down. But as I said, things can change very, very quickly in this current market. So even though it looks like the US dollar is very, very strong right now, things could change very, very quickly, as I said. So keeping an eye on this one, and keep an eye on the US dollar continuously going into next week. So now on the flip side of that, we've got Euro USD, which is obviously kind of has the inverse correlation with the US dollar index, because it's heavily based with the US dollar here. And we can see here that we have also broken to the upside of this rise and wedge formation. We know we broke out of this, falling wedge formation on the weekly. We know we broke out of this and hit the resistance here, and then we sold off quite sharply. So we're now trying to break out of the bottom of this trend line of this falling wedge formation on the weekly. Remember, higher time frame, stronger the formation, stronger the trend line, stronger the support. You can see here 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5. Let me just put that there. This has actually just been adjusted to 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6. So I'm just adjusting this slightly now. But you can see how we've reacted off this many, many times. Now, we are sort of in free fall on the weekly chart at the moment. The next nearest support here is this 10500 level, which I would expect to see the dollar index come up and tap this level, which would also help Euro USD come down and tap this level. Now we're going to come up and take out the previous high here before we see a reversal. We're more than likely going to come down and see us take out the previous, the previous low down here. But what I'm going to look at, what I'm looking out for on the US dollar is, remember guys, something to always remember, always is trade what you see, not what you think. You have the overall picture, but let's just drop down to the lower time frame. So we've got this daily candle here, big bearish week. Daily candle, big pullback, and we came back down and closed the day on a bit of a doji candle. Not really giving us any sort of confidence in this pulling back just yet. But we dropped down to the 4 hour. And you can see here on the 4 hour and the lower time frames, you've got a little bit of a double bottom here forming. Remember, last sort of candlestick on the at the end of the day on a Friday, I don't really have too much confidence in. But we're seeing a little bit of a double bottom. So I am expecting this price to try and have a little push up here at the start of the week. But then overall, I still think that we are quite bearish. We can see price pushing down. We can see here we've got the inner trend line here. If we do break that, we might just try and push up before making a push up to the next trend line, where we may push up to here, push up to the outer trend line, before selling back off down to the downside. But we are seeing some signs on the lower time frame down here, basically to show us that we may have a little push up on the lower time frames. But at the moment, still overall bearish on this. And if we do see a little push up into these levels here, let me just copy and paste this. If we do see a bit of a push up into this level, we may see signs for a little sell-off back down to the lows and create a new low. So I'm expecting this to perhaps have a push up into that region 1.0800, where we can then look at possibly seeing that short trade coming off here, coming off this previous lower high here, rejecting that level and pushing back down. We can just simply use the ranging tool like we normally use. So we'll be watching out for that next week. Now Euro GBP. So this pair is very, very interesting. So with the bigger moves that we've been seeing this week, guys, let me just remove these so you can understand. So with the bigger moves that we've been seeing the last couple of weeks, means that the sort of development or the play or the setup is going to be on a bigger scale as well. So for instance, we've been seeing 100 pip moves on 15-minute candlesticks. So the price is moving very, very fast, which is making it more difficult to take a trade, because if a candlestick is moving, for instance, if we're looking for a bearish engulfing to help us confirm, let's just say, a short trade here. It's not enough confirmation here, but let's just say we want an evening star formation, 1, 2, 3 here, as confirmation to take a short trade. Well, here, 93.90, and you're up at 94.90, where the last candle, 0.9500, where the high of the last candlestick is. So you'd have to go, say, 20-25 pips above that. So that means that your stop loss has to be 120 pips before you even started. You've got a stop loss of 120 pips. That's why it's making it so more difficult to take trades, because you'd have to have a larger stop loss. This is just an example in order to take the trade. Now with that means that with the candlesticks being so big and moving covering so much ground, that normally where we may be able to look for a trade like or a retracement, let's say come hit here, pull back and then look for a sell, it's happening on a bigger scale here. So what I do see is Euro GBP having a push up from these levels, pushing back up to around 0.9300 to tap that 61.8% level, and then we'll be seeing a sell-off. So here we just go to the weekly chart. You can see we've taken out the previous week over here, the weekly high. But we have got obviously some more upside when we go way back to 2009. But at the moment, quite a bearish candlestick here, where we see that we've got this, big push down on the weekly, big sort of pin bar. But we've dropped down to the daily. What we want to do, and why we're being impatient last week, is we want some confirmation in this market. We don't want to just jump in just on the off chance and risk. So we've seen a big push up here, seen a bit of a doji candle. If this had been a nice bearish candle, this could have been a nice evening star formation on the daily, where we could then look for a bit more, give us more confidence in taking the trade. However, we pushed back up here, and it hasn't really confirmed this as being a very, very strong sell-off or a reversal point. So what I do think we're going to see now, you see this sort of trickle up higher and come up to test at least the 0.9300 level, probably come up to 0.9330 to 40 region here, and then we could be looking at the sell-off. So if we go back down to the lower time frame, I do think that we're going to see this pull back down into the sort of this region here, 0.9100. Then we're going to see a push up from here up into that region, and then we can see a sell-off. So we're going to be looking at trades on both sides of the market, as I've said. If you can see that buy, that long up to 0.9300, we will take it. And then from the short, if we get that short from the 9350 region, if we can get that short from there, we will also take it. So looking at, that's the sort of setup I'm looking for. Expecting a little bit of weakness at the start, push back down, retest the broken monthly resistance 0.9100. We just rejected 0.9200 here as well. So expecting a pull back into 0.9100, find that support, look at a nice trade to bounce off to the upside, back up into sort of that region here as highlighted, back at 0.9300, and then from the 0.9300 we could be looking at a sell-off then on a larger scale back down. Now, as I said, we're going to need to watch how the market opens, because we could easily just open down at these levels, or we could open back up here. So we have to reassess on market open, but that's the overall picture. I'm looking to come back up into this region and then see it push down. Euro AUD, similar sort of similar situation. So you can see here we've had this big push down on Euro AUD, massive push up during the Asian session, And this is what I mean. If you're looking for confirmation, here's a 4-hour bearish engulfing, but then your stop loss, or to take a trade, it have to be above this, which is 400, 500, 600 pips. So the market's too wild to take trades at this point. Now hopefully it dies down a little bit this week. You can see here we come down, made a bit of a low, but we came down and we bottomed out at this level. We bottomed out at this level here. So price is now pushing up. It's making its way up. It's trying to have a little retracement. Bullish candle, bullish candle, bullish candle. Finding some resistance at 0.8500. However, we can see we dropped down to the 1 hour. This is a little bit of a 1 hour shooting star. So I do expect to see some resistance, obviously, from a monthly resistance. I expect us to pull back down here as shown. And then I'm looking to come up into this region as well. I'm looking to try and take out this level. And if we can come up and test this level and then see the price action like a shooting star up around here, then I think then we can take that short and have that big sell-off that I've been explaining for quite some time. So here we have seen quite a big sell-off, but it doesn't mean that we've missed it. It's only price developing and it's still got to play out just yet. So here we've got this Fibonacci pullback, could come back up to 50, maybe even come up to 61.8% the way this market's moving. But then we can see the big sell-off that we could have coming down to 1.7500. So once we get that trade, we could be looking at a nice 1,000-1,500 pip move to the downside. Euro NZD is a very similar situation, having that big impulsive move back down from the highs, that big impulsive move. We're sort of having a bit of a retracement. You can see we're making a lower high. At the moment, on the 1 hour time frame, we're making, so we pull back, we made a higher low, and we can come back up here, reject this level, and if we can't break above this, then we got a nice trade down. But what I'm expecting is price to come up, sort of test through this, see some nice price action around here, and then we can see a nice sell-off. This is why we're being patient. This is what we want to watch out for. Push up into this region, squeeze the shorts out from around this level here, and then bang, come down, and there's the big trade that we're looking for. 1.7500, 1.7500, a possible target there long term, or let's just say for the moment 1.800. So looking for some nice setups on these pairs over the next few days, over the next few weeks. Euro JPY, this one's quite choppy, still within this range. You can see here we had a significant low, significant high, came down, low, high. Now we're just getting more caught up between price action. So we're just moving through here and just getting really, really choppy. So what I'm expecting is price from this level to actually push back down and push back into this sort of region. From here, maybe even dip that little bit lower. And if we can find some support here, then I'll be looking for a nice move higher. But yeah, at the moment, especially with the market not even opened yet, we're going to have to wait for the market to open. Japanese yen, see how that behaves. But at the moment, I still see this to continue being a bit choppy within this region. We'll adjust this now that we've made a new high. You can see here, this is the previous high, came up, tap that. So we may come down and do the same down at the bottom here, tap that previous support, and then make a move to the upside. GBP pairs. So GBP, obviously we all know GBP absolutely fell through the floor last week. Last week. In the UK, we're not on lockdown just yet, but bars, clubs, restaurants, and so on are all being locked down, and this will affect obviously the economy in the UK. So we've seen a big sell-off here. There is talk of helping people and so on, but still, what I mean by that is the government stepping in to fund wages and so on. But the pound is still very, very weak at the moment, and with the US dollar on the front foot, this is very, very much open to being able to push down and push down even lower. So what I'm going to watch out for on market open is just let this one settle. We're sort of probably going to have to let Monday play out here and see what happens. Again, being patient last week, we want to see a bit of confirmation. 1, 2, 3. Third candlestick wasn't very strong. Very, very bullish at one point. Probably brought in a lot of long traders up at the top here who are now stuck in positions. And this is going to roll over back down to the downside, I believe. So just watching this here, the only thing here that are going to be interesting is to see how the monthly level 1.500 holds. We could see some short-term push up from here, back up into this region, and then we'll have to monitor from there. But but at the moment it is still weak, the pound. If the US dollar can extend this push up higher into this monthly resistance or the previous resistance level, then the pound is open to seeing this come down and come down even lower and sort of take down. This is the low now, so we could come down in and test this level once again. So let's see how market opens here. You can see market open. You can see we've got a bit of a morning star formation, opening up a little bit higher, but I do expect it to come back down first into this region. So this is going to be the interesting region. Coming back down to the 1.1500, maybe a little bit lower, maybe that fear once again taking out the previous low, and then we see a nice reversal on the pound US dollar from there and see the bigger move up from there. Could be really good buying opportunities down here. GBP JPY, looking for this to push down into this region again. Let me just go back to the daily. You can see here daily a little bit better, a bit more confidence if the bulls trying to step in here on the GBP JPY. Just zoom straight out. You can see on the daily lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs. Daily here 1, 2, 3, a bit of a bullish candle on Friday, but you see the big wick pushing us back down, rejecting the monthly resistance of 130. So on the 4 hour, you can also see we've got this shooting star, rejecting the trend line coming across here, and also a bearish engulfing, which gives us the sign that this is going to push down a bit further. Now, going to be watching to see if this new uptrend, this 4 hour trend can hold. However, I'm looking for this to push down and find some support within this region. You can see here we've got this candlestick here, at this level here. So I'm looking at price coming down, testing maybe 127.50, or coming back down and cut into this candlestick, which is also the last higher low on this uptrend. So we've got a higher high here, a higher low, a higher high, and if this can hold, then we may be presented with a nice opportunity. If we can, also depends on the Japanese yen this week. If we can see some weakness on the Japanese yen, we could see a trade from here and seeing this push back up. But we'll see what happens from here, and we'll be watching from here. If the pound continues to slide, then obviously, just like GBP USD, we could come down to the lows and maybe have that fear to take out the lows. But I am watching this level carefully, and we'll be updating on this during the week to see if we have a trade from there. GBP AUD. So again, GBP AUD has been another really choppy pair. We know that. We can see here, this has been a price movement for the last few weeks. Had a big push up, push back down, continue to be choppy, and now we're just floating about. This was the significant high now. We've come down, made a low. I see this coming back up and making a new high in order to sort of make that development, make that sort of price action a little bit more clearer, and then we could be looking at taking a trade. So for instance, I'm looking at this pulling back up into this sort of 61% retracement level, coming back up to the 2.0500 level before seeing a sell-off. So we're still accumulating within this level or this area, as we can see here. Been very choppy for the last couple of weeks. Push to the upside, push to the downside, catching people on both sides of the market, where we're just standing and waiting for price action to actually develop and play out as we want it. So we can see this level 2.0500 is a significant level. We've made the significant high last week. We've come back down. I'm expecting us to push up into that region, and from there we can be looking at a sell-off. GBP NZD, sort of similar situation, but we're going to stay away from that one. That one's even more choppy. We've got other pairs that are more interesting that I'm looking at the moment. USD CAD on market open, looking at a little push down and then a push up. But let me just go back to the weekly first. So we can see here USD CAD on a weekly, we're very close to the previous high back in January 2016. We go to the monthly, we can see that we do have more upside potential. If we could break that, we've got lots more upside potential to previous all-time highs. But at the moment, we're just looking at this weekly. We're coming to that weekly resistance and that weekly double top that could be forming here. Now we're very close. We've had a bit of a weekly a push back down on a weekly candlestick here. But then, as I said, being patient last week, and patience pays, is obviously this looked like a really nice short opportunity at times. But here we've we want a bit more confirmation. So any times in a market like this where things are very much more a lot more risky, you want to have that more confidence and more confirmation. Now we're waiting for a confirmation on this to see if we can have a nice daily candle. If we had a nice daily bearish engulfing, then this would have been a nice evening star formation that we could have looked at taking a short on the pullback on the next day to get that sniper entry down. However, here we can see we pushed down and we've had a big push back up. So at the moment, the bulls still look like they're in control. So you can see here, we made a high low. And again, this is just price playing out as it normally does, but on a much bigger scale. So normally when we see a push up like this, as you know, we'd have a higher high and we'd highlight the higher low with the range. But here the range could be so much bigger and play out to be so much bigger because the price is ranging, or the price is moving in such a bigger scale. So normally where we might see a high and then we see a pullback to make a higher low, which will be about 50-60 pips. At the moment, we're seeing 100 or 200 pip moves. So from here now, I'm expecting price to push back up to the top of this range at least and come up above. So I am expecting this to come back down first. Wrong tool, sorry guys. I'm expecting this to, where we've got this little bit of a 4-hour shooting star, I'm expecting to see this come back down into this region, maybe even 1.40. But I still expect USD CAD to come up and make another push up higher, possibly up into this region, take out the previous resistance, come up into which could be a great little sniper zone up at the top, and then we could be looking at the big sell-off from there, the big sell-off all the way down, which we could be holding for quite some time. So I am expecting maybe a little bit of a push down here. We might even only come back down to 1.4250, where we might see a nice long opportunity up. So I'm expecting more upside on USD CAD and before the overall short trade, which is the overall analysis, but we have to see how the market opens because it could change how quickly or how slow things happen. USD JPY, so we've seen a very bullish move up on USD JPY the last 2 weeks, 1, 2 weekly candlesticks, very strong, and I don't see this slowing down anytime soon, to be honest. So what I'm looking out for is this to continue up higher, but it's just again how this is going to play out. So at the moment we've broken up above the 1.110 level here. We've broken above, retested it. We have this previous resistance up here, so I'm expecting us to continue up higher. But at the moment we're finding some resistance. So I'm waiting to see whether we can actually come down and just find support here at 110 before we then have that push up, which I'm expecting to come up and take out this previous high, and then we're going to have a bigger retracement down. Not a complete sell-off, but I'm expecting a retracement down and a retracement on this overall move here before having the next leg up. But what I'll be watching on market open is this area here. We're finding some resistance. Market open is going to be interesting. If we find a bit able to break back below here, 1.100, then I do think that that retracement that I just mentioned is going to happen sooner, and then we'll have the bigger move up. So what we're going to be doing is watching USD JPY on market open to see how we react around this level here. Can the 1 hour bullish move here that we're seeing continue to take out this high over here and then have a sell-off, or is this going to hold and we have the sell-off now and then we have the big move up? So I'm looking to capitalize on both sides. So we can see if this does hold and we can break down, we may be able to look at taking that short trade, ride this down to these levels before it takes its next move back up. I say these levels, but we'll have to obviously see how this is going to behave. But overall, again, market open may change a lot of things. But what I'm looking for is USD JPY to continue this move higher, but I am looking for potential pullbacks and to make to have a trade on the retracement back and then be looking at the overall move up higher once again. You can see here we haven't really had much of a retracement. So these two levels are very important. I'm going to watch the market open, whether we can actually come up and test this now straight away, or if this will be something we'll deal with later and we see a pullback from this level and then move up. So I'm watching out for that quite closely. Aussie dollar, US dollar. So Aussie dollar, you can see, has been very weak. We have to go to the monthly chart, as we know, to look at some support level. This is where we're currently finding some support. Let's let's just have a look here. We can see monthly chart seeing a little bit of a pullback, but remember, the month's not over yet, so that candlestick doesn't matter. Weekly, we can see a big pullback, rejecting this level, but on a daily, we haven't really managed to confirm or show much strength of the bulls trying to take over. So Friday was the day we wanted to see this end close or close strongly to try and help confirm that this could push up higher. However, this push back down doesn't really give us much confidence. However, we do have to take into consideration that this has bottomed out at this level. So what we may see is this start to sort of trickle down into this region, and then we could see price find some support, and we could find support from this level. We have to understand that price has rejected this quite sharply. If we can trickle down here and find some support once again, then we may see that bounce from this. And this, if we see a bounce from here, I think we could then see a really nice long trade up, and we could hold this for quite some time, as mentioned previously on Aussie dollar. Again, we have to relay back to the US dollar side of things and watch how the dollar index, if this can push up to this level. We have seen some weakness, so it all depends on the US dollar at the moment. How it reacts when we get to this resistance. Are we going to see a pullback? Are we going to have a sharp retracement? If the US dollar gets weaker this week, we could see a big change on a lot of all the US dollar pairs. But I am still expecting first off to see Aussie dollar push back down into sort of this region first. That's something that I'm going to be looking out for. Looking out for this little 1 hour high low, high. Coming back down, may come back down to this sort of last higher low region. But wait for the pullback on this first, and we'll see what the market's going to do on market open. Aussie dollar CAD, you can see a sort of similar situation. If we just go to the daily, we can see we had that spike back, found some support, had another doji candle on the daily. We expected to come down into this level first, and anywhere into this region. If we see the price action, we could be looking at trades next week to look for a trade and a nice swing trade up. NZD USD as well. NZD had a big push down, come to that 0.5500 region. We've had a big rejection back up on the 1 hour, come back down higher low. I haven't been able to make a higher high here, but we've shown some nice signs here on the 1 hour that we could make a nice higher low from here. Bit of a morning star formation. So at the moment, it looks like the bulls could be on here, but we have just seen that the news has come out for the Royal Bank of New Zealand has started quantitative easing. So we'll have to see how the market reacts to that. But originally, I was looking for this to push up into this region. So that's the New Zealand dollar moving from where it is now, 0.5700, back up to sort of the 0.600 region, before then coming back down. So we're sort of on the 4 hour here. We can see we made a lower high here. We're sort of making our way up higher, but haven't come down lower just yet. Haven't made that new higher high. So I'm expecting to come up and try and take out 0.5900, come up to the 0.600 level. You can see strong previous support, now act as resistance, then see a push back down, and then see a longer term push back up. But again, we just had that Royal Bank of New Zealand news, so I'll be watching at how the market opened and see if there's going to be any gaps or any big moves. But at the moment, I would like to see New Zealand dollar push up higher. So this is sort of painting the overall picture that we're going to be looking at. Aussie dollar, Japanese yen, just keeping an eye on this one. But what I was just saying is we're sort of painting an overall picture of what I want to happen, or what I expect to happen. Like if we go back to Euro JPY, as I said, looking for a push down first, but then looking to come up into this region. So we have our overall picture that, and know what we're expecting on a longer term. But I'm also going to be looking at intraday trades for us to take the retracement backs before the overall trades as well. NZD USD, as I said, we got a bit of an idea of what we're looking at. Daily, again, daily's been quite weak, but I think we can see a little push up on the daily before we push back down. So we can see these trades. I'll be looking at taking them, and as I said, taking them on both sides of the market. Gold, quite interesting. So gold, as expected last week, is found that bullishness from where we're looking at on Friday. You can see here on the 4 hour, we've got a bit of a morning star formation. We're back at 1500, as expected, 1500, and we're just playing around with that level at the moment. We're just going to the daily on gold, or let me actually go to the weekly on gold. What's quite interesting on gold is that if we just zoom right out and we look at price action, and we know technically higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, and we come down and we tested that equal higher low. Drop down, we can see on the weekly, really nice sort of spike of that sort of 1450 level, as you can see, and we're closing in and around that 1500 level, just underneath, but we've hit that 1500 level as expected on Friday. So drop down to the daily, we can see here we've had that big push down. This was the significant low. We've tried to push back up since. We've been a bit choppy since that. But here we found some support at this level, and we've had that nice bullish push. We've had this 1, 2, 3 morning star formation, which shows now the bulls are stepping in, taking over the previous day, and we could see some nice upside potential here. So on the 4 hour, we dropped down and have looked for some signs as well. And as explained, we've had that push up, significant, that last lower high. We came back down. We haven't been able to make a new lower low, like here. So we look like the bears are stepping in. We can see here we're just slowly starting. Sorry, the bulls are finding strength, and we can see here they've stepped in here. We've come down from this push, found support, push down before reversal, like we know always happens, and now we start to see a push up. Now we're having a pullback, which we're looking to trade on Friday. Having a pullback slightly more. When we put the fib on here, we can see that we're rejecting this 50% fib, coming back down towards the 61.8% Fibonacci. But we've reacted off this 50% fib here, and we've got a 4 hour bullish engulfing on the previous candle. But we are just at 1500. If we can break back above that, then we can see some upside movement on gold coming into the start of the week. Where I'm expecting gold to come to, originally from 1500, I'm expecting to come back to 1550. Come back to this last lower high here. I'm expecting to take out that lower high or try to break that and find resistance here. So maybe come up to 1550, 1560. And if that holds as resistance, then we may see, sorry, let me go back to the 4 hour. If that holds as resistance, then we could see a bigger sell-off on gold. We could see a sell-off on gold to come down even lower. Back below here, come down, make new lower lows below 1450, below 1453. But this is going to be the key level this week, I believe, at 1550. We're currently at 1500, so it's a 500 pip move to the upside. So I'm looking at coming back up into that region first. And with current 1 hour bullish engulfing here, some strength, I do think that we can see that us come up into that region at least. So I'm watching out for this week. We'll be looking for us to take trades on that as we were last week, and see where we can go from here. We've got this trend line coming across. Should we break 1500? Should we break here? We could actually see quite a fast move up to that 1550 region, as expected and as intended. Go to US oil now. Oil is an interesting one, but it is very, very weak at the moment. Let's go to the daily chart. Again, we can see here, we're waiting to see, have a bit more confirmation last week. Let's just go back to the monthly, see where this trend line is coming from. You can see we actually have to go to the monthly to try and find some technical analysis to see if anything lines up here. That's how bearish oil is at the moment. We can see here 0.1, 0.2, 0.3 on this sort of trend line coming across the bottom here, a little bit like how I'm showing you on the US dollar index, sorry, on Euro USD. As you can see here, how that works, like a falling wedge formation. You can see we have found some support there on oil. However, again, we want to be patient because it's very, very, very bearish. We've had one bullish day on Thursday. Then Friday, as I mentioned, I was actually looking for short trades on this from this exact region, but we dropped down to the 1 hour. There's just not enough chance to get into the market at times here. We had 1, 2, 3, We had a nice even star formation here, but the way that this moved here down to here, it just doesn't give a chance for a re-entry or for an entry here. Once we had that confirmation, not enough of a pullback, too big of a stop loss, risk reward doesn't line up there. But we haven't had this move back down. We're starting to find some support on oil around these levels here. As you can see, we're coming across, but I think it's too early to be looking at anything on oil just yet. I think that we can play around here a little bit longer. We could possibly come down and take out this previous low. And if we do that, then that's also going to relate to USD CAD pushing up higher as well, because the weaker the oil is, the weaker the Canadian dollar is, and that's going to help Canadian dollar push up here as well. So again, at the moment, we have to see how oil opens up with the market open and see where we go, where it goes from there. But just sort of monitoring oil at the moment. You can see how choppy this is on the daily. Let me just clear this chart off completely. If we just look at this on the daily chart, bearish push to the downside, bullish engulfing, and now bearish move back down. Sort of an inside bar formation here, where price is being trapped within the previous day. And so this may cause a little range for oil, and we can come back down to retest the lows here and see if we can find some support at these levels, around this level. But you can see here also, around significant levels, we do have $20 a barrel here, which psychologically is very, very big for oil. And if we come back down there, if we can break that, we could see this continue down lower. But this is going to be an important level for oil, the $20 a barrel level. So this is something to watch out for coming into the start of the week. But going back to sort of top picks of the week, Euro USD is one to watch out for. We may see a nice little push up early in the week and then a trade back down. Euro GBP is one I'm really eyeing up. Euro AUD I'm really lining up. Euro NZD. GBP pairs are quite interesting, and Aussie dollar pairs are very, very interesting as well. New Zealand, yeah. So there's quite a lot of interesting pairs there, guys, that we're going to be watching out for. So as I said, there's been some big moves in the market. So you have to wait a little bit longer to make things clear. But now that things are starting, we're getting a bit more price action after these big moves. For instance, in Euro GBP or Euro AUD, where we saw that huge move down in one day. We just have to decipher the sort of candlesticks and understand the development and understand the price action after that to give us the signs. Because some of these big moves are happening without any chance or any confirmation or any signal for us to be able to get in. So we have to wait and let the price develop a little bit more. But as I said, yeah, it's looking good for next week, or for this week. We'll see how the market opens. Remember, guys, it's very, very risky at the moment. So when taking a trade, you have to understand, always keep it at 1%. 1% risk. It's very, very risky at the moment, but with trades, the way that the market is moving, there is quite high reward. So you do not need to over leverage or over risk. So keep it to the 1%. And yeah, let's have that patience and let's look forward to this week. So as I said, last week was very, very erratic and very, very wild, where people would blow accounts time and time again last week. Now, this week, hopefully it can settle a little bit more. We can see with the price action that we've been given a bit more to understand what price could do, so we can take our trades. And yeah, I'm looking forward to this week. I think it's going to be a very, very good week. So remember, risk management is key. Being patient is key. And as I said, jumping in trades last week can blow accounts. And we're about longevity in this business. And who's here in 6 months and a year's time not hitting a jackpot of a trade last week, which is high risk, high gamble, and trying to hit the jackpot of one trade and just have that one big winner. We want to have several wins over time and time again. So I'm looking for this week to be a lot more active. As I said, it's been able to settle down a little bit for us now, and just looking at the charts, I can see lots of setups that I'm quite excited and confident about taking over the next few days. So watch the market open, guys. We'll see what happens from there. But yeah, looking forward to this week, and I'll speak to you soon. As soon as market opens, we'll see what we've got. Thank you.